Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mang. Welcome back for some more solo role manging. My somewhat ongoing solo RPG series. This time we're going to be doing probably just a one-off, looking at a new RPG called Draw Steel. This is from MCDM, Matt Colville's company, and I'll admit that I have not watched a lot of his content or listened to a lot of his content or anything like that. I've watched a little bit, and he seems like a pretty knowledgeable guy, and he seems like he's a fan of 4th edition D&D, so I was definitely interested. I haven't been following Draw Steel's development at all. I like to just wait for things to come out, and it has come out, so I dove in. I bought the starter set, the Delian Tomb starter set, for $10, and I started reading it. I liked a lot of what I read, so I bought the whole thing, the Heroes book and the Monsters book and everything. And I'm planning to actually switch over my ongoing campaign I'm running from 13th Age to Draw Steel, because I like so much of what I've read. But before I do that this week, I would like to just get a taste of the combat, get a little bit. I find the best way to learn something is just to do it. So we're going to run the first encounter from the Delian Tomb starter adventure. And to be clear, this is not really a game designed for solo play. I mean, you can do it, of course. You can do any RPG solo, I guess. Even like Dread or something, I guess, if you want to play Jenga by yourself. So I'm not going to be doing like more than this solo. There are much better games, I think, suited for solo play. The reason why I don't think it's super suited for solo is just there's so much to juggle. You're meant to have like 4 or 5 characters, characters in play. And there are so many abilities. There's so many different like meta currencies going on to track for each person. And there's so many like triggered abilities that everybody gets that happen on other characters' turns and other players' turns and the enemy turn and all this sort of stuff. And it's just like too much for a solo player to keep track of. There's far simpler games that you're probably going to enjoy a lot more. But it's doable, as we'll see. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a starter level 1 encounter. It's going to get a lot crazier than that. So I don't even know. I haven't read the adventure, by the way. I've only read the rules, so I haven't really read the adventure and what it all entails. But we have here, this is the Delian Tomb encounter book that just details the encounters. So I don't know the situation that's going to lead up to this, and it doesn't really matter because we're just here to experience the combat and learn the combat rules and everything. So Draw Steel is a game very much in the vein of 4th edition D&D. It's very much in the vein of heroic cinematic fantasy, with featuring a heavy focus on tactical combat. So you're going to be playing on a grid. You're going to be playing with miniatures or on a virtual tabletop or something. You're going to be tracking squares. Every move, every AoE, everything is based on squares. If that doesn't interest you, you already, you know that Draw Steel is not going to be the game for you. And I perfectly understand, because I love Shadow Dark and Tales of Argosa and the OSR and all that. I love Theater of the Mind and just keeping it very loose and fast and 3-minute combat kind of things that you can fight a skeleton for 3 minutes and possibly die. I like all that, but I also like this sort of stuff too. These combats are going to be much lengthier and much more involved, but potentially a lot of fun too. So yeah, it's all big superhero sort of fantasy stuff. Much more on that side of D&D kind of thing, new modern D&D, where your characters are just throwing abilities out left and right, and your mages are just casting spells every turn and all that sort of stuff. Right, so I think we should just kind of get into it. We are not using Foundry for this. We are using Owlbear Rodeo, which I've used briefly in the past, very briefly. I think when we did Axe or something, like we looked at it a little bit. And I guess this is Owlbear Rodeo is what the actual devs have been using for their games. And there's like a handful of like draw steel extensions available. Whereas Foundry, there is a fan-made module for it for draw steel, but it's kind of outdated right now. And it seems like the devs have some deal or something with this other program called DM Hub. I don't use enough virtual tabletops to know all the different virtual tabletops out there. There's a lot. So something with DM Hub, and the you can get, I guess, access to the new draw steel version for that or something, the module, but it's not public yet. So for now, we're just going to use Owlbear Rodeo, which means that we're going to have to track everything ourselves, which actually represents kind of a problem because I don't have form fillable PDFs here. Give me a moment, actually. Okay, no, so yeah, I guess these are not form fillable PDFs, which is kind of weird. I guess these are very much meant to be printed out and just written on. But we have the draw steel tools for Owlbear Rodeo, so we actually can track their health, their surges, their recoveries, heroic resources through there. So that's good. All right, so yeah, we're going to use Owlbear Rodeo. We have the map for the first encounter. They do provide that, specific VTT versions and all that kind of fun stuff. And the first encounter involves a group of goblin guards in front of the Delian tomb at the entrance to it. And at the start, there are 6 goblin warriors acting in groups of 2. We'll explain the groups in a second. And then at the end of the second round of combat, 2 goblin assassins and 2 more goblin warriors emerge from the entrance of the tomb. Since we're going to play with 4 heroes instead of the assumed 5, we're removing 2 of the goblin warriors from the start. So we have 4 goblins at the start versus our 4 heroes. Pretty simple. There's apparently an NPC here named Ashley, who is just going to hide behind a tree and stay there, so we don't have to worry about that. And then the tactics. During the first round, the Goblin Warriors will run at the hero nearest to them, taking the charge action with Spear Charge to close the gap if necessary. As the Goblins attack, they shout for help. During the second round of combat, the assassins that appear will try to flank a hero to gain an edge on their sword stab ability. The new and remaining warriors get close to an opponent using Spear Charge and then attempt to back out of the fray using hit and run tactics. The goblins fight until after the second wave arrives, and they are outnumbered 2-1. They then flee, at which point the encounter is over, and the heroes earn 1 victory each. Okay. So we're going to have 1 round where we just have these 4. Hopefully we can kill at least half of them in that 1 round, but we'll see. So let's go over... I mean, there's going to be a lot to go over. So our 4 characters... We've taken just 4 of the pre-gens, obviously. One of them is actually mislabeled. So the file that's titled Human Null here is actually for the Human Censor, which is like the cleric, or it's like the paladin. And then the one that's labeled Human Censor is actually for the Null, which is sort of like the... Well, it's sort of like this guy. The monk, sort of. So that's mislabeled. I'm sure many people have pointed that out. And they break up these pre-gens kind of nicely by the encounters. So you don't get your full set of abilities in the pre-gen for the first encounter. They just give you piecemeal. Just a handful of abilities and your sort of core mechanics. And then second encounter, you get another one, third one, fourth one, blah, blah, blah. I think that's pretty good, and we don't need more than that to learn the system, so that's fine. So we got the human sensor, our sort of paladin. We have a polder, like a halfling elementalist with a fire specialization. We have a high elf tactician. Who's actually the Vanguard subclass. So he uses a bow and arrow. So he's going to be like our ranger kind of thing, but a leader. And then we have a dwarf fury berserker, which is what you expect it to be. Okay, so the character sheet then. You have your ancestry, which is obvious, human, dwarf, elf, blah, blah, blah. You have your class. Again, they all have kind of unique names. There's no fighter, mage, ranger sort of stuff here. There's fury, sensor, elementalist, tactician. You have a career, which is sort of basically your background. It does provide different mechanical benefits, though, including the skills and stuff like that. So our fury was a warden. And then your subclass. So our fury is a berserker subclass. Our sensor is a paragon. Our elementalist has fire specialization, and our tactician has vanguard. Then we have victories. Victories is sort of like XP, but it's not XP. Victories becomes XP, but it also serves a different mechanical benefit until it becomes XP. So for every battle you win, or for every, like, basically victory you achieve, whether it's through battle or through negotiation or avoiding battles or what have you, you earn these victories. And you actually sort of get stronger the more victories you have through at least one major mechanic that kind of encourages you to keep building up victories. But once you take a respite, which is a 24-hour safe period in a safe resting place, where you're basically doing not much else other than resting, you convert all your victories into XP. You'll never, I don't think you'll ever lose victories or anything like that. Like, it never goes down. It just keeps building up. But eventually you do want to take a respite, because that's how you get your kind of long rest, your full recovery. But you're also kind of encouraged to keep adventuring, because you're becoming more and more powerful in different ways through building up your victories. So it's kind of like this balancing act of, okay, we're at kind of our limit. We don't have any resources left. We don't have any recoveries left, blah, blah, blah. And also, we don't think we can get any more victories, basically. Like, we need to stop here before we die. Then, okay, let's go get a respite. Or it's like, we're on sort of this path, and we're on this adventure. We're not going to stop now. We're not going to go and rest for 24 hours now. We're carrying this kind of momentum through battle or whatever, through this adventure, and we're getting empowered because of that, even as we get weaker. It's like a sort of a counter measure to you becoming weaker from losing recoveries and things like that. So I think that's all pretty interesting. And obviously XP will, allow you to level up. I believe it's max level is 10, but there's a lot of ability and choices and everything between level 1 and 10. So I don't think they need to go past that. You have wealth. This game doesn't track money, and instead you have a wealth level. Again, it's not a wholly original concept. Plenty of games have done this before. Basically, wealth levels 1 through 6, and it determines sort of just what you can afford. At wealth level 1, you can afford like any mundane equipment you'd want to buy, any mundane weapons, armor you might want to buy. If you need to stay at a cheap inn, or just your food and beverage, all that for every day, like wealth 1 just takes care of all that for you. Whereas if you want anything above that, it's either just like, no, you don't have enough money for that, you can't afford that, or you might have to like do a special activity, a side quest or whatever, to try to obtain it, or to increase your wealth. And then your wealth level goes up, and eventually you can just afford, like, yeah, you have wealth level 4, you can afford buying a small house if you want, or whatever. You know, you can afford this thing, a boat or what have you. On the one hand, I like it. You know, it's simple, and most of the time, tracking money is just kind of this tedious activity that doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, we're staying at this tavern and we buy a drink. Well, it costs me a silver. Let me erase a silver here and write. And it's like, who cares? But other times I do care. It does allow you a lot. Like, what are you spending your money on, and what aren't you spending your money on, and building up your funds in order to buy something big, and then you have to get money again. Like, I do like that in like the OSR game where it's mostly about money. This game is not about money, so I think wealth works for this game. I don't think it works for every game, or it's a good fit for every game or anything. But yeah, I think it's a good fit for this game. And 13th Age also doesn't use coin, like you're not gathering up specific coins or anything like that. That hand waves it basically entirely. It's just like, yeah, you can basically afford whatever you want to buy. Yeah. Renown is like your fame level. It affects, from what I understand, mostly negotiations, which we're not even going to get into. This is just a combat thing. So negotiations have their own whole sort of gamified mechanic system that I think some people will like and some people won't use at all, and that's okay. I'll try to use it when I run this, but if I was a player, I probably wouldn't care for it, because I'm the type of player that just plays like the high charisma, and I do all the talking. I like the improv aspect of it, and I like having a DM that we can just have like a conversation, like, you know, we're in theater or something. But admittedly, that's like a one-on-one thing. Whereas the negotiation mechanic in this game is meant to involve the whole group. And it's like a group activity that you're trying to win over a negotiation using different skills and tactics and stuff. So I do think it's a good fit for most groups. Okay, the 5 attributes: might, agility, reason, intuition, and presence. Might and agility, obvious. Reason is basically intellect, anything based on using deduction and intelligence and blah, blah, blah. Intuition is like wisdom. It's using any sort of, well, intuition, really. I mean, it's your perception, it's your searching, it's your reading people, sort of, you know, all that sort of stuff falls under intuition. And then presence is basically your charisma. It's your force of character and personality and all that kind of stuff. Size is pretty simple. It's basically like 1, 2, or 3, or 4, pretty much. And then size 1, which is 1 square, is broken up into 1T, 1S, 1M, 1L, I think. Something like that. Basically, nothing is smaller than 1 square, but obviously there's a difference between a human and like a pixie. So it's 1 tiny, 1 small, 1 medium, 1 large, I think. And that allows like a pixie to move through a human space. Speed, usually 5. Some characters are 6, like our Fury, our dwarf, is actually speed 6. And our tactician is speed 6. That's the number of squares you can use with a single move action. Pretty simple. Stability is a reduction on any forced movement abilities used on you. There's a lot of movement abilities in this game. Movement is a big aspect, as we'll get into. And so stability allows you to just reduce that number that you would be moved by that amount. So our Dwarf Fury is really stable. It's really hard for someone to just shift him around, which makes sense. He's got stability 3. Whereas our Elementalist, our little halfling, stability 0. Much more easy to just get zipped around or teleported or, you know, thrown about. Yeah, it all makes sense. It's cool. And then disengage. This is if you use the shift action straight out of 4th edition D&D. Because if you move out of an enemy's, if you move away from an enemy, no longer adjacent, they get an opportunity attack against you, a free strike. But if you use the shift movement action instead, you can usually move 1 square, and that won't provoke any opportunity attacks. Some characters are better at shifting, and so everybody but our dwarf can actually shift 2 spaces instead. Stamina is your hit points. And so I believe, yeah, so our dwarf and our high elf have 33 at level 1. Our censor has 30 and our elementalist has 18. It's hit points, of course, but if you get to 0, you're not actually dead. You're not unconscious. If you get to 0, you become dying. You can still fight. You can still take actions, take your turn as normal, but you can't heal yourself with a recovery by using a maneuver, by using like a minor action. You can't use a recovery. And I believe you're bleeding, which means that you're going to take like 1d6 damage for every action you take. I believe. We're going to double check that, but I believe that's the rule. And then winded is half health. And you actually do die. You go unconscious and die at an amount equal to your negative winded value. So our censor has a winded value of 15 at level 1. He'll die at negative 15 hit stamina. Recoveries, you have a certain number of those between respites. Those are your heals. So every character can use a maneuver or a minor action basically to spend a recovery and heal for that amount of stamina. A different character can also use a regular action when adjacent to somebody to allow them to use a recovery, which you have to do if someone is dying. So our censor actually has 14 recoveries, whereas our elementalist has 8. And they heal for different amounts. Heroic resource. Every class has their own unique resource. That's a very gamified thing, of course. It's a meta currency unique to their class. So like our Fury is going to build up ferocity. Our tactician is going to build up focus. Our elementalist is going to build up essence. And our censor is going to build up wrath. This is a very important mechanic for every class. They build it up automatically at the start of their turns by a certain amount, and then they all have different triggers that'll build up more of their resource. And then it's spent through different abilities. Everyone's going to have certain abilities that they can just use every single turn. Signature abilities and stuff like that. They can just use every turn without any cost. But then they'll also have special abilities that will cost them an amount of their resource to use. And so you're building up these resources and then you're spending them on big abilities. And that's really the only limit. You know, there's not once per day stuff. There's not once per encounter stuff. It's all based around this heroic resource that you're going to be building and spending, which admittedly is really annoying for like pencil and paper. You're not going to want to be writing and erasing this unless you're using like a whiteboard or something like that. You're probably going to want to have some sort of like poker chips or some other tokens, pieces that you can kind of like add and remove to a pile to signify this stuff. I believe these sheets are all mislabeled as well because this says stamina and it should say surges. So surges you can build up through different mechanics, and then you can spend surges to increase the damage of abilities after you like roll the damage. I think it's after you roll. So I believe, if I recall, like every surge you spend increases the damage of an ability by 2, I think. And then you can also spend 2 surges to increase the potency of an ability if it uses potency, which we'll get to. We probably won't even need to get into surges, but we might. Then you have your different like sort of other character stuff, your languages, your culture stuff, your skill list. Skills we don't really need for combat at all, but it is kind of interesting. It's sort of a compromise between like something like 13th Age and something like D&D. There is a big long list of skills, but you don't really need to know them. As like a DM, I don't really need to know them that much or care about them. From what I understand, like I'm not really going to be calling for a skill check. I'm not going to say, okay, roll your read person or roll your climb. I'm going to call for ability checks. I'm going to say, okay, roll your might or roll your agility or something like that. I mean, I guess I can call for a climb. The thing is, it's meant to be a very flexible system. It's meant to be, it is always meant to be an attribute check. You're going to roll 2d10, and we'll get, everything's a 2d10, we'll talk about that, but you're going to roll your check, and you're adding your ability to it, which is +2 or +1. I mean, we're dealing with very small numbers here. So +1 or +2 or +0. And then the player's responsibility, if they think they have a skill that might apply, they can say, oh, okay, well, I have endurance. Can I use endurance on this? And if the DM allows it, that adds another +2. So there's no like +7 to my endurance or anything. It's if a skill applies, it's +2. This music seems insanely loud. Like I do this where it just seems like I'm shouting constantly. Yeah, hold on. I gotta turn it. It's too loud. Okay. Right. So it's up to the player usually to speak up if they have a skill they think applies, or they can kind of like, hey, I'm trying to intimidate him, but I'm really trying to impress upon him like my physical presence, my strength and my willingness to kind of just inflict physical violence on. Can I use might for this? That's always a classic example, but it's meant to be flexible like that for all sorts of different things. Or you might say roll a climb check for climbing, and they might say, okay, well, instead of might, I'm trying to be really nimble with. I'm trying to like leap from balcony to balcony very dexterously. Can I use agility for this instead? And sometimes that might apply, and sometimes it might not. And it's meant to be flexible. Okay. So let's just look at the Fury here specifically for the first level, first encounter. So he uses ferocity as his heroic resource. At the start of a combat encounter, you gain ferocity equal to your victories. And this is the major thing of like, the more victories you have, the more you're going to start each battle like running. You're going to start each battle with a good head start on your primary resource that allows you to immediately use like your big abilities. But for this first one, we have no victories, so this is fresh, At the start of each of your turns during combat, you gain 1d3 ferocity. So it's a d6, and then, a 1 or a 2 is a 1, 3 to 4 is 2, 5 to 6 is 3. Additionally, the first time each combat round that you take damage, you gain 1 ferocity. The first time you become winded, half health, or are dying, 0 health, in an encounter, you gain 1d3 ferocity. You lose any remaining rage at the end of the encounter. Yeah, I don't know why. It must have been originally called rage or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I have seen the term rage thrown around a little bit. But yeah, ferocity. You gain certain benefits in combat based on the amount of ferocity you have. These benefits last until the end of your turn, even if a benefit would become unavailable to you because of the amount of ferocity you spent during your turn. So at ferocity 2... Zoom in. At fuck. PDF readers. Terrible. So at 2 ferocity, whenever you use the knockback maneuver, the forced movement distance gains a +2 bonus. At 4, the first time you push a creature on a turn, you gain 1 surge, which is the thing that lets you spend them to add damage and stuff. So that's a way we might get surge. And at 6, you gain an edge, which is a +2, on might tests and the knockback maneuver. So you can spend your rage to use your big, high damage, high impact abilities, or you can just maintain it at like 6+ in order to get all these benefits. And most of the time, you're going to be gaining, you're going to be spending, you're going to be, okay, like, we really need to kill this thing, dump your ferocity into your big ability and slam it. and I think that's really quite a fun. You know, it's like a video gamey kind of mechanic, but it's fun. All right, so then you have two abilities here. These are both just sort of signature abilities. These don't cost any of your ferocity to use. So for this first encounter, you don't really have a ferocity dump. You know, you're gonna just be building it up. In the second encounter, you're gonna get this ability that costs 3 ferocity. And then in the third encounter, you hit your big one for 5 ferocity. But first one, it's pretty simple. So you get Brutal Slam. The impact of your blow drives your foe backward. It's a melee ability, it's a strike ability, and it's a weapon ability. So those, tags. Its range is melee 1, so adjacent to you. It's a main action. Every turn, you're going to get a main action, a move action, or a move, and a maneuver, which is like a minor action. You also get a triggered action once per round. The target is one creature or object. You're going to roll 2d10 plus 2. They do all the math for you here. So a lot of this is based around your primary stat, which in this case is going to be might. So that's why there's a lot of 2s and stuff. And the damage numbers are all going to be automatically calculated based on your primary stat. So you're going to roll 2d10 plus 2. And then this is the chart. So there's no armor class. There's no missing. There's no, roll above this to hit or anything like that. This is what you're rolling on no matter what the target is. Whether you're hitting a goblin or whether you're hitting a dragon. This is the roll. Now, obviously, a dragon's going to have a lot of other shit that's going to impact your ability to land hits, but or to really do damage, so on and so forth. Kill it. But yeah, it's 2d10 plus 2. If you roll 11 or under, you're going to deal 5 damage to the target and push it 1 square, depending on stability. If you get 12 through 16, which is going to be the average on 2d10 plus 2 is going to be 13. And because it's not a d20, which has no average, that means that on average you will do kind of a mid-tier, a good amount of damage. There's no missing, nothing like that. You might roll poorly, but you'll still do something. But 12 through 16, you'll do 8 damage, and you'll push it 2 squares. If you roll 17 plus, 15 damage. Massive. 15 stamina is how much health these goblins have, by the way. So if you roll 17 plus, you're one-shotting these goblins. And if they're still alive, push 4 squares. If you roll a 19 or 20 naturally, so a 9 and a 10 or 2 10s on the 2d10, that's a critical hit. It doesn't do extra damage or anything. It's automatically a tier 3 result, so 17 plus, no matter what. Even if you have other modifiers involved or something like that. It's a tier 3 result, but then you immediately get to take another action, which is, of course, very fun. We also have Devastating Rush. The faster you move, the harder you hit. So this is basically all the same stuff. Same roll, same everything. 1 creature object, melee 1. 5 damage, 8 damage, or 15 damage. No push. But you can move up to 3 squares straight toward the target before this strike, which deals extra damage equal to the number of squares you move this way. So if you move 3 squares straight towards the target, so you can't dance around them or anything, and then roll 17 plus, you're dealing 18 damage, which is quite nice at level 1. We also get some other stuff. We get the Panther Kit. So there are a bunch of kits available to every class. They're not unique to each class. So you can have the Panther Kit on a Tactician. You can have the Panther Kit on a Elementalist. You could have the Mountain Kit on a Tactician. You can. There's a bunch of stuff. If you want to be we have a Tactician that uses a bow. If you want to be an Elementalist that wears heavy armor, you could do that. There's a lot of flexibility with these kits and stuff. So our Fury has the Panther kit, wears no armor, and wields heavy weapons such as mauls or great swords. The kit modifies a bunch of different stats and things like that, including like your stamina and your recovery amounts, different other stats, speed, you know, all sorts of different stuff. That's probably why we have 6 speed. And you'll notice there's no, you don't have an equipment list. You're not wielding like a specific weapon or anything. Much like 13th Age, like it doesn't really matter. You have abilities. You can picture this however you want to, you know, picture it. There are, of course, certain like magical items. Like your DM might still throw out like, here's a magical greatsword. But as far as I can tell, anybody could use it to use like a weapon ability. I mean, obviously the Elementalist doesn't really have melee weapon abilities. None of this says weapon or anything. But yeah, anybody that says weapon could use any type of melee weapon, as far as I understand. We also get grounded, so that gives us +1 bonus to stability. That's why we're at 3. And spark off your skin. Stone skin affords you potent protection. +6 bonus to stamina, and that bonus increases by 3 each time you gain a new level. So that's already calculated for us. And then it lists the 2 free strikes. So these are like your opportunity attacks or certain abilities, like the Tactician will give allies free strikes. So that's not going to be an ability that you can just pick or anything. It's going to be one of these basic attacks that do basic damage. But it's still, I mean, the melee free strike for him is still 13 damage. It's pretty good if you roll well. It's not that much worse than Brutal Slam. Okay, so that's everything for him that we need to know. The Tactician is going to build up Focus. So 1d3 at the start of each turn. Or actually, no, it's 2. It's just straight 2. Okay, it's very even. And then 2. The first time each combat round that you or any ally damages a creature marked by you, you gain 1 Focus. And this is what kind of what I'm saying about it being really hard to juggle solo. Because if you're just playing the Tactician in a group, you're focused on that. Pun intended. You know, you've marked somebody using an ability. You're very aware that you're going to get another focus when someone hits him or you hit him or something like that. So you're going to be very cognizant of that. But juggling 4 different characters and all these different triggers and all that sort of stuff is going to be a lot trickier. And then the first time in a combat round that any ally within 10 squares uses a heroic ability, you gain 1 focus. So that's any ability that costs your heroic resource. And that has to be an ally. So again, like, you're paying a lot of attention. You're not sitting on your phone, or you really shouldn't be, because you want your heroic resource. Everyone does. It allows you to do your big impactful stuff. I mean, if you're not paying attention to that because you don't care, then you're probably not enjoying the game at all, and that's a problem for you being in the game. But if the whole point is that you enjoy tactical combat, you're going to be paying attention to this. And believe me, I perfectly understand a game like D&D or something where nothing is happening because it's not your turn, so you just sit on your phone, you're not invested. I get it. That's the whole point of this, is to make you invested and keep you interested. And, I mean, we haven't run it. I can't really, and playing solo, obviously, I can't really say, but it seems so far like an effective way to do it. All right, so we get Protective Attack. I guess I can zoom in a little bit here. Protective Attack. It's a melee ability against 1 creature. 7 damage, 10 damage, 13 damage. And then the target is taunted until the end of their next turn. So even if you whiff, even if you roll like Snake Eyes here, double 1s, and you get a 4 or whatever total, you still are doing 7 damage, which is pretty good. That's half of one of these goblins' health. And they're still taunted, no matter what. Like, there's no, like, oh, you whiffed, sorry, pal. Like, you still have basically achieved your goal. Yeah, you could have done more damage, sure. It would have been nice, but you still probably achieved what you're kind of trying to do, which is probably to taunt the target. And that means that the target, if they don't target you with an ability on their turn, will get a double Bane. Which means that a double Bane... A Bane is -2 to the roll. A double Bane means that they automatically go down 1 tier on their result. regardless of their roll. So if they rolled a 13, they'd automatically drop down to the tier 1 result. It's pretty bad, obviously. It means a tier 3 result is impossible. So usually, especially as a DM, I'm almost certainly going to attack the person that taunted you, unless it's really like, okay, I really am trying to achieve something here. And so, yeah, I mean, fucking awesome, right? It's very gamified. Yes, that's the point. But it was a great concept in 4th edition D&D, and it's a great concept here. You also, since he's a ranged person, he gets 2-shot. So he can shoot 2 creatures or objects at range 12, 4, 6, or 8 damage. And since he's a ranged character, he's probably going to be doing 2-shot and stuff more often than taunting. You know, he's kind of a unique tactician. There are definitely melee tacticians that are going to be using this a lot more often. But yeah, being able to hit 2 targets for 4 damage. 4 damage minimum. I mean, that's basically an 8 damage minimum ability that you can use every turn, essentially. It's on 2 targets, sure, but it's you're dealing 8 damage guaranteed every single turn, which, as you can see so far, is pretty solid. And it's at range. But then you have a ranged mark. So 1 creature within range 10. Target is marked by you until the end of the encounter, until you are dying, or until you use this ability again. You can willingly end your mark on a creature, no action required. And if another tactician marks a creature, your mark on that creature ends. When a creature marked by you is reduced to 0 stamina, you can use a free triggered action to mark a new target within distance. So this by itself, I don't know if it does anything, actually. No. Oh, here it is. Right. I have not read it. I've mostly read, like, rules. I've not read all these class abilities. Okay, so... Blah, 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 blah. While a creature marked by you is within your line of effect, you and allies within your line of effect gain an edge on power rolls made against that creature. So that's +2 to any, like, basically any roll. Any 2d10 roll against that creature, you get +2 on. And that's really nuts for a lot of, like, the shadow class. Sort of like the thief or rogue class. They always want to have edges on their attack rolls and their ability rolls, because they get big benefits for that. And so, yeah, having a tactician there that can just, like, guarantee that for you until that thing is fucking dead, that's pretty great. Additionally, whenever you or any ally uses an ability to deal rolled damage to a creature marked by you, you can spend 1 focus to gain one of the following benefits as a free triggered action. The ability deals an additional 4 damage. The creature dealing the damage can spend a recovery. The creature dealing the damage can shift up to 2 squares. Or if you damage the creature with a melee ability, the creature is taunted by you end of turn. Okay. So I think that last one is specifically for the tactician in melee. He can taunt until the end of the turn? Until the end of next turn? Something like that. But still, I mean, there's lots of good things. So, again, like, you have to spend focus to do any of these 4 things. No matter what, they get the edge. Which is good. But you can see, like, yeah, you're going to want a lot of focus. Because you're going to want, like, why would you not want to add 4 free damage to all your allies' attacks against the target? And that's why you got to be paying attention to this shit. To get that focus. Like, yeah, I mean, it's a very involved thing that you want to pay attention to. You get an edge on tests made to notice threats. You have the Shining Armor and Rapid Fire Kit. So you get heavy armor and bow. All sorts of stuff. Heavy armor, bowman in the back. You get the melee strike, range strike, so on and so forth. And that's it for the tactician for level 1. The censor gets Wrath. At the start of a combat encounter or some other stressful situation tracking combat rounds, you gain Wrath equal to your victories. At the start of each of your turns during combat, you gain 2 Wrath. They're all 2 except he's 1d3. I thought they were all 1d3. I don't know if these are Let's go to the actual rule book here and not the pre-gens. Let me just find a class here. So here's Insight for Shadows. That's 1d3. Let's find a class we actually have here. That's a null here. This is the Fury. As we scroll through all the pages of abilities. Alright, Ferocity. Oh, 1d3. Well, yeah, but let me find... Fuck! Okay, let me just find the Tactician or something. Troubadour, Tactician. I just wonder if it didn't used to be 2 for everybody, and then they were like, oh, let's make it 1d3. It's exciting. That's the talents. Yeah, I wish I had... Your Tactician. Focus. No, that's 2 focus. Okay, I thought it was 1d3 for all of them, but no, I guess some of them get 2. Okay. So you get 2 Wrath each turn. Additionally, the first time each combat round that a creature judged by you deals damage to you, you gain 1 Wrath. First time each combat round you deal damage to a creature judged by you, you gain 1 Wrath. Okay, so when they hit you or you hit them, you get 1. You get Stain Power. For being human, you increase your number of recoveries by 2. And yeah, every ancestry has a list of like 6 different perks you can pick from at level 1. You get the Mountain Kit, so heavy armor, heavy weapons. Judgment, you utter a prayer that outlines your foe in holy energy. So this is a maneuver. This is not a... Actually, Mark was also a maneuver, not an action. So yeah, these are maneuvers, your minor actions, essentially. Target is judged by you until the end of the encounter. Use this ability again, you will in the end of the effect. Whenever a creature judged by you uses a main action and is within your line of effect, you can use a free triggered action to deal 4 holy damage to them. Damn. Anytime they do anything of an action, as long as you can see them, they just take 4 damage. When a creature judged by you is reduced to 0, you can use a free triggered action to use this ability against a new target. So that this first time each combat round you deal damage to a creature judged by you, you get a Wrath. That includes this. So if they go first or whatever, and they try and attack you, you deal 4 damage and you get a Wrath right away. It's pretty nice. Additionally, you can spend 1 Wrath to take one of the following free triggered actions. When an adjacent creature judged by you starts to shift, you make a melee free strike against them and their speed becomes 0. Damn. So you get an op on them even though they're trying to shift. And they just stop. They just cannot move at all that turn. When a creature judged by you within 10 squares makes a power roll, so a 2d10 roll, you cause them to take a Bane on the roll, -2. So you can just give them -2 on any roll. When a creature judged by you within 10 squares uses an ability with a potency that targets only 1 creature, potency was reduced by 1 for that creature. Obviously, we have not seen any potency abilities. Potencies are sort of like the saving throw type effects. Kind of. There's going to be certain... Actually, I wonder if we can scroll down just to see one. Here. Yeah. So here's one. Concussive Strike for 3 focus. Deals damage, and then it says M less than 0, 1, or 2. Dazed. Save ends. So this is... these always correspond to the attributes. So this is Might. So if the target's Might is less than 0, they become dazed. Save ends. If you roll this, the second tier, their Might is less than 1, they become dazed. And so these numbers are based on your primary attribute. And so when you're playing, when you're rolling, you use Concussive Strike, you roll a 17, it's like, okay, 12 damage. And if their Might is less than 2, they're dazed, save ends. And then you just tell that to the DM, and then they know what the unit's Might is. And so they can assign it or not, you know. And that's it. That's the whole system. And so this and enemies, of course, have that ability. They have potency stuff too. So this allows you to reduce that potency by 1 for that creature. Meaning that, so like if they use this concussive strike and they got a 12 to 16, instead of might less than 1, it would have to be a might less than 0. So it's a nerf. Or if you damage a creature judged by you with a melee ability, creature is taunted by you until the end of their turn. So you do get taunt access as well. I'll just say this is one of my favorite characters I ever played. This is heavily based, as far as I can tell, based on the Avenger class for 4th edition D&D. And one of my favorite characters I ever did was a half-orc Avenger that was just like the uber paladin, like he was all about just like smiting the wicked, no matter the cost, no matter the risk, like no matter how powerful it seemed. Like he died in one campaign during a 1v1 against a kraken because it was causing trouble, it's just like, it doesn't matter, it needs to be smote. So he went out like a champ. So I love this class. This whole concept of judging someone, and it's like, I don't give a shit about anything else going on in this battle. This fucker is dying. So this is great. Pain for Pain is your signature melee, or one of them. Power roll +2. I think it's a little strange they do 2d10 +2 here and just say power roll +2 here. There's not these pre-gens probably should have been really given a 1-over for various reasons. Considering the game just launched, a lot of people are going to be picking up this starter set. Maybe it's already been updated since I downloaded it, but I don't know. Anyways, 5, 7, or 15 damage. Very hefty hit. And if the target dealt damage to you since the end of your last turn, this strike deals an additional 2 damage. Yeah, we'll get into the initiative system in a second, but it is flexible, to say the least. So yeah, okay. So you can do up to 17 damage potentially, which is pretty good. Yeah, and then you combine that with, like, the tactician's extra stuff on marked targets, like the alpha strike capability in this game seems really terrifying for like solo monsters. That's always been historically a problem for these types of games, so I'm curious to see how they solved that. Your allies cannot save you. Excellent ability names in this game. 5, 7, or 14 holy damage, and each enemy adjacent to the target is pushed up to 2 squares away from the target. Yeah, so if they're all clumped together, just send the others scattering, and you judge this guy, and it's like, yep, you're mine. You're frickin' mine. It's great. And then you get your melee and ranged free strikes. So yeah, I mean, it's just every character has a melee ability, every character has a ranged ability. There's not like, I pull out my bow, and oh, I don't have a bow. And like, no, everyone can do this. Just funner in that way. Okay, and then lastly, we have the Elementalist. So they get Essence. 2 Essence per turn. And the first time each combat round that you or a creature within 10 squares takes damage that isn't untyped or holy damage, you gain 1 Essence. So it can't be untyped, which is just like most melee or range damage, anything that just says damage, or holy damage, which is a little tricky then, because obviously most stuff is going to be untyped damage. But he, of course, the Elementalist, is going to do all fire damage and stuff. So he's mostly going to key it off of himself. But that's fine, because he's going to probably be doing damage every turn. He gets Acolyte of Fire, become an expert at wielding destructive flames. Your abilities that have fire and magic keywords gain a +1 bonus to roll damage. And your Hurl Element ability also gains this bonus when you use it to deal fire damage, already included. Enchantment of Destruction. You get +1 bonus to roll damage with magic abilities. Boy, just damage on damage. This makes sense. It's fire. Practical Magic. You get one of the following effects. This is a maneuver. You use the knockback maneuver at a distance of range 10 and use Reason instead of Might for the power roll. You can choose a creature within 10 squares of you to deal 2 damage to them. It can be Acid, Cold, Corruption, Fire, Lightning, Poison, or Sonic. That's very fun, because if you figure out a weakness, or if somebody gets a weakness onto a target, that can be pretty big. Because, I mean, well, say you're fighting a fire elemental. This character would otherwise be really fucking useless. But now it's just like, well, no, I'm just going to smack him with cold damage. And this is, I mean, I'm pretty certain it's a maneuver, which is crazy. So you can actually, well, for one, you can always use like a main action to deal fire damage, but then you can also just throw out, okay, for my maneuver, I hit him with 2 more fire damage, or I hit him with 2 corruption damage, or whatever. So you're always just able to throw out some extra damage. But then if it's like weak to cold, I'm pretty sure you can just convert your main action and move action down to maneuvers. Correct me if I'm wrong here. We have the rules reference. You can turn your action into additional move, action, or maneuver. Okay, so you can't... Okay, so the way that's worded, then you can't convert your move to a maneuver. So the most that you could have is 2 moves or 2 maneuvers. You can just turn your action into a move or a maneuver. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so then still, like, say you're fighting something weak to cold, then you could still do this twice per turn. And the way that it works, like, weakness has, like, it's like weakness 5 cold, and they take 5 extra damage from any cold damage. So that means you could just slam them for, like, 14 with no roll involved. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not going to be probably the best thing unless it's actually resistant to fire, but still. Or you can teleport up to 2 squares. And you can also spend essence to teleport 1 additional square for every essence spent. Fun stuff. So yeah, I mean, you can just save up like 5 essence and then teleport up to the top of a wall or something. Cool stuff. Bifurcated Incineration. 2 creature or objects within range 10 take 4, 6, or 8 fire damage. So it's very similar to the 2-shot the Tactician has, but it's fire. And you get Viscous Fire. 1 creature or object, 6, 9, or 11 fire damage. But also push 2, 3, or 4 spaces. Nice. Pushes are obviously... It always has to be in a direction that's further away from you. Every space you move has to be further away. Pulls always have to be 1 step closer to you. Slides, however, can be in any direction. And then there's also, it always has to be horizontal unless it specifically says vertical push, vertical pull, vertical slide. And then that can be basically any 3-dimensional direction. And these movement things are really important. And we've seen a couple mentioned to knockbacks. That's a maneuver that anybody can do, is a knockback roll to try to push back a target. And I think if we go to our reference here, yeah. So knockback is a maneuver, melee 1, push 1, 2, or 3 spaces. And if your might score is 2 or higher, you can target any creature with size equal to or less than your might score. Otherwise, it's only your size or smaller. And yeah, so these pushes are pretty important for a lot of different reasons, because movement is a big deal. Opportunity attacks, things being adjacent, flanking, and pushing them into other creatures and objects all does some really solid damage. There's a bunch of rules for that. I don't know if it goes into any of that, for... Oh, here it is. Yeah, force movement. So slamming into creatures. Movement ends. Both creatures take 1 damage for each square remaining in the first creature's forced movement. So basically, like, if a guy is standing next to a guy, and you slide 3 or you push 3 or whatever into that other dude, they will both take 3 damage. Because he would have moved into that square, but he can't, so he has 3 squares remaining on the movement, and they both will take 3. And I like that you can also just pull someone into yourself in order to deal damage to both you and the other guy. You can also slam them into objects. If you force them into a stationary object that's their size or larger, the movement ends and the creature takes 2 damage plus 1 damage for each square remaining. But you can also break objects. So if it's made of glass, wood, stone, or metal, you know, it depends on how much it takes to break it. But say it's wood. It takes 3 squares of movement. So if you push 3 right when they're right next to like a tree, I guess. It seems like an extreme example. Maybe a thinner tree, I suppose. But yeah, if there's 3 squares remaining when you push them into it, they will basically be on top of the tree. Like, it'll be broken, they'll be on the stump or whatever. And they'll take 5 damage. But say you push them 5 squares, and there's like a couple trees or like a solid wall for, you know, multiple squares of wall there. They'll go through the first wall, or the first tree, take 5 damage, and then they probably, like, yeah, they wouldn't be able to break through the second one because there's only like 2 squares remaining. So then they'll take 2 damage plus 2 for each square remaining. So they would actually take in total like 9 damage from you just slamming them through a tree and a half, you know? And like, that is such an impactful thing. Like, that is such a big part of the combat. I'm curious to see like how things are going to scale up, because this stuff is obviously very big at level 1. You throw a goblin through a wall, like, that's pretty big damage. Like, combined with your actual hit, he's probably just dead. Whereas at level 8, when you're fighting like hill giants and dragons and stuff, like, I don't know how impactful any of this stuff is going to be. But I guess, I mean, there might be some really high-end numbers on movement. I mean, the dragon might smack you through, like, you know, 20 feet of wall or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But at level 1, it's certainly an impactful part of combat. Right. Yeah, so you have a melee weapon free strike, and then hurl element is your ranged one, so you don't need a bow or anything. And you get to pick the damage type, and if it deals fire damage, damage is increased by 1. So I assume that's... It said it was already added. Yeah. So I guess this is the default assumption? Okay. So that's everybody. That's all our classes. And again, there's a bunch of other classes. The Shadow, the Talent, the Null, the Conduit. There's going to be more classes coming. There's already a bunch of fan-made classes, like a Vampire, and like... Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff. All very exciting. And you know, like, I'm a fan of making homebrew classes. Like, for various RPGs, like Tales of Argosa, I made up some new classes. And, like, recently for 13th Age, I whipped up, like, a really simple class for my mom and stuff. But for 4th edition, despite all the time we played it, I don't think we ever had any interest in making a custom class. Because each class that was there was, like, there was so much to it. It was so involved that, like, there wasn't really any need to make any custom classes. I think, I don't even know if we used any homebrew classes. Maybe I looked at some, but I don't know. So, yeah, and just, like, already the material we have from these books, there's so many options, so much customization that I don't think you really need custom stuff, but people are making it, which is, I think it's cool. All right, so let's try to get this started now that we're over an hour in. Let's get combat rolling. So if we go to the encounter sheet, not that one, not that one. Well, this is the encounter guide. We have an encounter sheet. There it is, Goblin Guards. Okay, so we have 4 heroes, average level 1, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 expected. Okay, that did change stuff. Good, good. These nice, handy-dandy encounter sheets. So... Malice. Malice and hero tokens. So at the start of every session, the heroes, the players, get an amount of hero tokens. And I believe it's equal to the number of heroes. So at the start of every session, say they get like 4 hero tokens. And they can spend those on different fun things. I assume that it will mention that somewhere here. Yeah, here you go. So you can spend 1 hero token to gain 2 surges. And those are the things that let you increase damage by spending them or increase potency. You can spend a hero token when you fail a saving throw, letting you succeed on the save instead. And yes, there are actual saving throws. I have yet to encounter an ability that uses them, but they're apparently in the game. But I haven't looked at that many monsters. That's probably where they come into play. You can spend a token to re-roll any test, any roll that you would do, a 2d10 roll. You must use the new roll. Or you can spend 2 hero tokens on your turn or after you take damage, no action required, to regain stamina equal to your recovery value. This is a shared resource. So the party shares these hero tokens and they can spend them as they will. By default, they do not carry over. You can't build them up. They will reset at the start of every session. And there is an alternative rule to change that if you play like shorter sessions and you don't want it to be abused. You can have it so that it doesn't reset. So you can build it up, but you also don't get them for free. And these can also be given out by the DM for heroic activities or anything like that, or any good role playing and stuff like that. You can hand out hero tokens. There's also, if you do like skill checks, skill tests, and you roll really well for like an easy test or something like that, you get a reward. And that could be a narrative thing, that could be a mechanical thing, or if you're just not sure, you can just hand out a hero token instead. So it's a very common, meta currency. It's in almost every game now, but there it is. So the players get that. The DM gets Malice. So Malice is going to build up. At round 1, you get it based on the number of heroes in combat, +1, plus the victories, the average victory number amongst the heroes. Most of the time, I would say that the heroes are all going to have the same victory count, but a player might do something solo. They might do something impressive on their own or something like that, or they might do something extra impressive with the group. Who knows? They might have an odd number of victories compared to the others. So it's the average number of victories of the group. So for this combat, round 1, we're just going to be getting 5 Malice. And then after that, it's going to be just the number of heroes plus the round number. And you get that amount of Malice. And we get to spend this on various Malice abilities, determined by the types of creatures that are in the battle. So there's always 2 ones that are generic: Brutal Effectiveness and Malicious Strike. Brutal Effectiveness costs 3 Malice and allows the next ability a monster uses with a potency has its potency increased by 1. These are spent at the start of any monster's turn, by the way. And 5 plus Malicious Strike. The next strike deals additional damage to one target equal to their highest characteristic. The damage increases by 1 for every additional Malice spent on this feature, to a maximum total of 3 times their highest characteristic. Yeah, I mean, it feels sort of bullshit, I guess, if a DM is just stacking Malice and then just dumps it all on the mage or something. It seems a little cruel, but yeah, you can do that. Yeah, so every monster gets access to this, but then the other stuff is based on the monster itself, and the monster manual obviously has a lot of fun with this mechanic. So the goblins, for 3 malice, they can go into goblin mode. Each goblin in the encounter gains +2 bonus to speed until the end of the round. Tiny stabs for 5 malice. Each enemy in the encounter takes 1 damage for each goblin adjacent to them. So that's, you know, when you're surrounded by this horde of little goblins. And a lot of damage could get dealt out like that. And 1 damage is not a lot. Even if, like, you're the berserker, you're up front, you're surrounded by 4, and you take 4 free damage. That's not that much, considering you start level 1 here with 33. But, you know, the Elementalist has 4, and he could just get surrounded by a bunch of them, and ouch, ouch, ouch. And then 7 Malice, Swamp Stink. The encounter map becomes covered in a green mist that lasts until the end of the round, and which can't be dispersed by wind. All areas of the map become difficult terrain for non-goblins, and each non-goblin on the map must make a might test. If you get 11 or less, you take 5 poison damage, and you're weakened until the mist disappears. 12 to 16, you just become weakened until mist disappears. 17 plus, no effect. I don't know if this is meant to be a saving throw, because it doesn't use that terminology. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that further. But this is all very, very fun. Like, normally I don't get that excited about DMing, because I prefer playing, but this sort of stuff is the type of thing that makes DMing combat fun. Then we have encounter conditions. I think it's also a very fun sort of gamified concept of, like, as a DM, thinking about the conditions, like Final Fantasy Tactics, sort of like, what's the victory condition here? So the goblins fight until they are outnumbered 2 to 1, then flee. Failure condition, the heroes die or flee. Pretty simple, but obviously a lot of other encounters are going to have much more involved stuff. And then we have the encounter roster nicely laid out. So we're going to be ignoring a couple of these. Like, this is no longer a factor for us. And it's grouped up. So let's talk about initiative. So it's, what do they call it? Like ladder initiative or zipper initiative, I think it's called. I think it's zipper initiative. So basically, it's going to go back and forth. It's going to go DM side, player side, DM side, player side, DM player side. And the players, when it's on their side, one of them will choose to go. There's no dice roll there or anything like that. They will discuss themselves tactically what's the best option, who should go this turn. After one of them goes, then the DM goes. And they will pick a monster to go or a group of monsters. So sometimes you'll have an individual monster that will just, that it'll be his own thing. But other times you'll group together smaller monsters. So all our goblins are grouped into 2s. So 2 of them will go at one time. And then you'll go back and forth until, you know, there might be an imbalance in number, probably. In which case, then one side will just keep going until everyone's gone, and then a new round starts. So who goes first is either determined by the narrative, if it makes the sense for the DM to be like, okay, you have the jump on them, or you're kind of have the edge here, so it probably makes more sense for this side to go first. If there's no one way or the other, then a dice roll is done. And if it's a 6 or higher on a single D10, then the players get to choose which side goes first. If it's 5 or less, then the DM decides which side goes first. So, all right, I think let's just get things started here so we can get to the fun part. So let's assume this is a neutral situation. We're just gonna have we're gonna add all these to the hero tracker, the initiative tracker, and we're gonna add them as a hero. He's added as a hero. He's added to the there you go. Tactician here in the back, added to both, and the elementalist added to both. And we're going to go ahead and put in all their stats real quick. So for the Fury, he's got 33 out of 33. He's going to have 0 of his resource for now. He's got 0 surges for now. And his recoveries, he has 10. Simple. The sensor is going to have 30. 30. And he's going to have 14 recoveries. Quite a lot. The tactician is going to have 33 health. Stamina, sorry, terminology. And 10 recoveries. The elementalist, 18 stamina. 8 recoveries. Okay. And then the goblins, these are all going to be... Well, so these are not... No, these are not minions. Minions are a thing. Basically, like mook enemies that share a health pool. But we are not working with any of those. So this is basic stuff. So we're just going to add them. And if we go to our... the Goblin Warriors have 15 stamina each. And that's pretty much all we have to know. I guess I could have copied these, actually. Right. So we want to group these together, and I think there is a way to do that. So if we... Right. Group splitting. Or should I... Okay, so we have a thing here. Let me just select both of them, and then we can give them a colored ring. So that'll signify them as... There we go. We just had to... There you go. Group A. Good. Then we'll give these guys a colored ring. Group B. Perfect. Perfect. And then we can just go ahead and do that for these two right away with a red ring. Group C hidden. And then the 2 assassins in the back. Group D. Done. Okay. So... Yeah. I should have added in the health and then copy pasted them all. But it's fine. Learning experience. Okay. So that's the setup. I think we're all good. So we're going to roll a D10 to just determine. That's not how we wanted to do it. Okay. I don't think there is a built-in dice roller, is there? Like, I don't have the extension for the dice roller. I mean, and we have a power roll, but that's not quite what I want to do. I don't think there is a built-in dice roller. Isn't that kind of crazy? No dice roll log of any kind. It seems like the most basic functionality possible for a virtual tabletop. Right? Doesn't it? Okay. Let me just add in this extension then. It's crazy, but you know, a dice. And then I have to manage this thing. Hold on. Dice. Dice has been enabled. Okay, we have the dice. Right. We're just gonna roll a d10. Roll. 5. Alright, so the DM will get to decide, in which case, I guess we'll have the goblins go first. Simple. I don't know if there's a way to, like, drag these out into different, like, tabs, or if I have to keep going back and forth between my initiative tracker and my dice roller. But sure. Okay, combat has begun, in which case I think you have to shout, draw steel. No, I don't think that's true. But I'm surprised that wasn't mentioned more often in the rule. It seems like the kind of thing you would say. Okay. So we're gonna start with Malice, as mentioned. So let's see here. Right, 5 Malice. We're just gonna put 5 here in our Malice counter. And we get to pick one set of goblins to go first. And the goblins have speed 6, so they can move 6 squares. And they also have a charge ability they can use, the spear charge. So anybody can do a charge ability as their main action. It allows you as just their action to move up to your speed and make an attack. Usually the attack you make is your free strike. It's your basic ability. But if you have an ability that has the charge tag, then you can use that instead. So that's what they have. It has to be a straight line, but what that means is not necessarily like a directly orthogonal line. It just means that it has to be... You can't bend back. So, like, the way that I understand is, like, you could do this, this, or something like that. That's a straight line, even though it's very obviously not. But what you can't do is you can't go like this, and then this. Okay, that's suddenly not straight. So you can't bend back the way that you've already been in any way. So I think we can definitely make it in range, because we have a total of 12 movement between a normal move and a charge move. Because we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces. So we'll do that. And he's shouting for help. They're here. All right, and he's going to now roll 2d10 plus 2. So we're gonna do 2. Roll. Boom. He got a 19, a tier 3 result. He rolled a 7 and a 10. And that is on our sensor. So he is dealing 5 damage to the sensor. So we'll go to him, and we will deduct 5. Now, again, this is where it's going to get tricky, and I'm going to miss a lot of stuff, because there's probably going to be all sorts of abilities different people can use for different events, and who knows what happens, and we're trying to keep this very simple, because there's just no way to juggle all this as a solo player. So it's fine. We're keeping it simple. Okay, so that was that, and then the second guy can do basically the exact same thing. We can use Malice if we want. I could do Goblin mode this turn, so they give them all +2 bonus to speed. I could even do Malicious Strike, to be honest. So he would deal additional damage on this hit equal to his higher characteristic. And that's the fun thing for DMs and players. It's like, using that, you're setting yourself up, but even if you roll poorly, like, you still benefit from it. You're not whiffing anything. It's just so wild. And again, I know it's not unique to this game or anything, but it's just so different than almost like a normal D20 fantasy game. So we could use Malicious Strike. He would add 2 damage onto his thing, so he would hit, because his highest thing is Agility +2. So he would hit for like maybe 7 damage on the high end, 5 damage on the low end. You could, but it's not really a great use. So we're just gonna move, boom, 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 move plus charge. Now, technically, they also get a maneuver. I think minions don't. Yeah. Yeah, minions can only take a move action and a main action, a move action, a maneuver, or 2 move actions. So I don't know if the intent is for me as the DM to just constantly be slapping maneuvers on and just constantly be rolling for, like, knockbacks and stuff, like, because everybody can use knockback, right? Or anybody can use a grab. So I don't know if I'm meant to be doing that much micromanagement with my units, or if I should just leave that to the players. I think they are smaller though. They're size 1S, so they can't actually knock back. They can knock back the polder, but that's it. Yeah, not even the dwarf. So there's that. I suppose that is a factor for this battle specifically. But yeah, I don't know if I'm meant to be using knockback all the time. I could also try grabbing, but again, it's also based on size. Unless your might score is 2 or higher. So we'll just forego it for now. And we're just going to roll against the Fury. Alright, we got a 15 total. Which means that it's going to be 4 damage to the Fury. And now he, I believe, is going to benefit from that. We go look at the Fury. First time each combat round you take damage, you gain 1 ferocity. So he will gain 1 on that. Noted. Okay. And so now I go to the initiative tracker and we say that group A is gone. I think I just manually have to... yeah, I don't know if there's a way... Oh, group A. You could just do parentheses, blue. I'm sure I could have remembered, but in the future it may get more complicated. There you go. Pretty simple. Okay, so group A has gone. We've checked them off. And so now the player side gets to go. So they would talk amongst themselves. What's the best, all the tactics possible. So all the different things we can set up. And it's like, oh, well, you know, the censor wants to judge one. To do more damage. But, you know, probably the tactician should just mark one in order to allow others to deal more damage to it. And we can just prioritize. I mean, really, fucking anybody could go and do something. But we'll have the tactician go first. How about that? So at the start of his round, start of his turn, he's going to gain 2 focus. We're going to go to him and bump this up to 2. So he's got 2 focus. And then he's going to use a maneuver to mark one of these targets. So he'll mark this guy. I don't know the best way to signify that on Owlbear Rodeo. There probably is a way to do it. Attach? No, I mean, maybe there is just like... There's auras you can put on. I guess I could draw on them. It's not really a good way to do it. Label? No, there must be a better way. I'm sure there's an extension, right? That just has various condition markers or something. Owlbear Rodeo extensions. If we search conditions, condition markers, quickly add condition markers to your characters. Yeah, I'm probably going to need that, so I guess we'll throw that on. See, we're discovering all sorts of stuff. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't even have to reload. Wow. Right, so condition marker, Shift C, and there's going to be different ones. These are all obviously based on D&D 4 5th edition, so you'll have to just know what's what. But I think this is a good enough thing for... Yeah, it's a very small thing, but sure, this thing has been marked. We're all aware of it, we all know it. So that was a maneuver. It didn't cost our tactician anything, but he could now attack it and then spend a focus to deal 4 additional damage to it. Which, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to use 2 shot. So he's going to shoot 2 of these things. And I believe you roll once and apply to all. I'm almost certain I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's going to be listed here in this sheet. Oh, save ends. That's right. That's the saving throw. So it's a single D10 on a 6 or higher. The effect ends. That's what a saving throw is. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and you can spend surges after you roll damage, which is pretty interesting. So then you can spend hero tokens to spend surges to finish something off, but usually players are not aware of how much health something has. No, so I'm not going to be able to find it there. I'd have to go back through the whole combat section of the rules. This is not the regular rule book. This is the starter set rule book. This is mostly what I've been reading. Damage, yeah, but it's not going to be... all the different movement stuff, blah, blah, blah. Movements. Taking a turn. I don't know, remember where it even was listed. It's going to be like a single line somewhere in this whole section. But I'm pretty sure it's just rolling once. And then you apply the result to everything. And that makes sense just for speed of play. So that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so we're going to roll 2 shot. Just straight up roll. 2d10 plus 2. We got a 16. So that is going to be 6 damage. And we're going to spend a focus. I'm going to spend 1 focus to deal 10 damage to this one. So he's going to go down to 5. This one's going to go down to 9. Done. And then I do have a movement action. And I'm not risking any ops, so I guess we'll go off to the side here behind this tree or something. Have a bit of a flank. I didn't see any rules for like shooting into melee or anything like that. And honestly, there's not even ops from as far as I can tell for shooting at a guy next to you. The only ops are from moving away from a target. Out of adjacency. Okay, so that's that. Now we also want to see, he also gets, first time, any ally within 10 squares you use as a heroic ability. You gain a focus. So we'll want to keep an eye out for that. If I can. But that is the ranger, the tactician, I suppose, that is gone. We'll rename all this to various classes. Sensor. Elementalist. Okay. So now one of the other monster groups gets to go, which of course is the only other monster group available. So they're gonna move in. And hold on. The Chrono Cross soundtrack. It's perfect. Right. So a little trickier here because he can't go through the tree, but he has to go in a straight line. But I guess he could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a hell of a move, right? And he never doubled back. I don't know how much of a straight line it was, but as far as I can tell, it's legal. Okay, and then he's going to do his roll against the tactician. He rolled tier 2, so that's going to be 4 damage to the tactician. Okay. Oh, also, yeah, he damaged the mark, so he got a focus for that. That's right. That's free real estate. The Elementalist only gets it when non-untyped damage is thrown out. And then the Sensor is all around Judgment. Yeah, okay, and the Fury already got his. Alright, so new... Oh, no, there's also this guy. So he could do... Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he'll go ahead and stab the little Elementalist. He got a tier 3 result. He rolled 17. So he is going to do 5 damage. Ouch. So now we can't do the Malice ability, the tiny stabs. We can't do that until the start of a monster's turn. So yeah, the heroes are in a good spot here to correct that possibility. But all right, so that was Group B done, and so now there's no other. I probably should have let the players go first in this situation. Actually, that would probably have been more advantageous. But goblins are dumb. It's fine. So now all 3 of the remaining heroes get to go in a row. So we'll have the Elementalist go first. He's going to get 2 essence. He's going to shift here. Otherwise, he'd take an opportunity attack. So he'll shift 1 space. He can actually shift 2, though, can he? All right, he'll shift 2. Have a good lay of the land. Now, we don't have access to any of our heroic abilities, and only the Fury actually gets a benefit from stacking it, I think. But we can spend some on... I think the only thing we can actually spend it on is practical magic to teleport farther. Yeah, so I'm trying to keep track of these resources to get into the flow of it. But yeah, we actually don't have any things to spend it on for anybody but like the tactician or something. So it's fine. He doesn't need to spend it. He's powerful enough as it is. All right, so we're gonna cast Bifurcated Incineration. I'm pretty sure the 4 additional damage is after I roll, but I'm not sure. Oh, also we get a +2. That's right. So how does that work? Oh, man, I really got to find that section now. I could have sworn that if you have a Edge or a Bane on one of the targets in a group, you get it on the whole roll. But, man... It's... I mean, it's definitely in here. I have not really looked at the other rule books, so I know it's not in, like, I'm sure it's in there. But I just thought I could find it here real quick. But you'd think that it's in here. I was just thinking about casting Viscous Fire and like pushing something into a tree and slamming him through. It really makes you as a DM like you definitely want to think about all the terrain and putting in objects and terrain and walls and stuff everywhere, because it's really fun on both sides, just be slamming things into it and all the different effects and terrain and height effects and stuff like that. I have no idea. I might actually have to crawl through the whole Heroes book, like 400 pages of it, in order to find something. 265 is combat. I mean, I hate to bog it down. I really should just make a decision here. Because what are the odds I'm going to be able to quickly find it here? This is all basically the exact same information in the same layout. If I didn't find it in the other one, I don't know if I'll find it here. Cover, invisible, damage, damage, immunity, stamina, knocking temporary underwater combat. I mean, this cannot be. Yeah, no, it's somewhere. All right, we're gonna roll with what I think the answer is, and if I have an edge on one of the 2 targets, I get to roll an edge for the whole roll, because you're only rolling 1 roll, according to my own memory on the rules. Yeah, I should have read more before we did this video, perhaps, but here we are. So we're just gonna roll 2d10 plus 4. We have an edge. All right, he rolled a 13, so thanks to that edge, I guess, we got the tier 2 result of 6 fire damage. So I don't know the order of operations here on if the DM would on when you're allowed to like spend this focus to boost the damage. It's like, oh, well, he's dead? Okay, I don't have to spend focus. Oh, he's not dead? Okay, I'm gonna spend focus. Like, I don't know. But he's definitely dead. 6 fire damage. Boom. Erupted. And then we also do 6 to this guy. We also get a focus for dealing non-untyped damage. So he's down to 3. And again, we wouldn't know his exact health. So I suppose I would use my maneuver. Actually, maybe I wouldn't. I could use my maneuver to deal 2 damage to him, but I could also use it to do a ranged knockback maneuver, and I think I'm going to do that on this goblin to knock him into this tree. So we use reason instead of might for the power roll. Yeah, this music isn't really super fitting for combat, is it? I guess, like, how much combat music is there going to be in the Chrono Cross soundtrack? Okay, I may have to find something a bit more intense. Okay, so yeah, it's a knockbacks, power roll plus your reason, which I'm pretty sure is 2. And we're looking to get a 17 plus here, but I mean, any amount of damage, like, it's going to be 2 damage just to hit the object, plus 1, 2, or 3 damage. So it's definitely a better option than our just 2 fire damage we would do. Alright, so let's roll. We got a 17. 10 and a 5 plus 2 is 17. So that is a 3 push into a wooden object of size square 1 square. So he's going to, like, end up here. The tree is busted, and he takes 5 damage. Just send him flying through the air with magic through a tree. Yeah. So that's that. That's pretty fun. Okay. So I think everyone got a trigger here for their resource. The Fury got hit. He did non-on-type damage. Or someone took non-on-type damage. And the Tactician used damaged a marked target. No one has used a heroic ability because we don't have any, but it's fine. Okay, and then lastly, well, no, not lastly, the Fury's gonna go. We can tick off the elemental. The Fury's gonna go, and there are 2 enemies in front of him. But I don't think he has the ability to do anything for the second target. He could grab the second target, though. And that's kind of fun. So let's have him just use Brutal Slam on this blue guy in front of him. So he's going to roll 2d10 plus 2 on that. He rolled a 5. So he rolled the bare minimum. Well, close to the bare minimum. Tier 1, though. But that's 5 damage push 1, which is enough to kill him. So, you know, it's all good. Just chopped off his head. And now he's going to use his maneuver to do a grab action on, or a grab maneuver on the other one. Okay, so he's going to roll plus his might, which is, of course, 2. Oh, also he gains 2 pure. No, he gains 1d3 ferocity. We'll go here to a d6. That is a 5, so that's going to be 3. He's up to 4 ferocity now, so first time you push a creature on a turn, you gain 1 surge. Oh. Oh, so he would have had that. Although I don't know if the guy would have been pushed because he was dead. That does matter, doesn't it? That's probably also in the rulebook somewhere. Oh, I'm never gonna find all these answers. That seems like something that's gonna come up pretty quickly. I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, that's a big... Usually I would say no. I would say a rider like that. Like, he's not able to be pushed because he no longer exists. But the thing is, it's like you may want to push his corpse and send it flying into another thing. It's like, I don't care if he's dead. It doesn't matter. He's still an object. I think it does say that a creature, when they hit 0, does become an object. I think it says that at some point in this rule book. But that's another whole question of something, of who knows where that answer is. That could be anywhere in here too. No, I thought that was it, but no. Oh, there's this whole section here. This isn't even the combat section. This is the ability section. I know, isn't this thrilling stuff? It's amazing. This might tell me everything I need to know, though. Okay, so it does say to keep things moving quickly and to make abilities easy to read during play. An effect determined by a power roll always applies to the target unless otherwise specified. I guess it is pushed. Doesn't say otherwise. Huh. Oh, yeah, roll against multiple creatures. For our other question. When an ability has multiple targets, you make one power roll and apply a total to all targets. If you have edges or banes against some but not all your targets, you might apply a different tier outcome to individual targets. Oh, yep. Okay. So that makes sense. Then that other guy may have had less health or more health. We're gonna roll with what we have because I don't remember, but that's good to know. I still don't know if we have an answer for if a push happens on a corpse or not, because I feel like that is going to come up, considering the Fury gets a ferocity. Or no, something. Wait, what? Right, yeah, this gets a surge. Fucking gets a surge first time you push a creature on your turn. I guess I'll give it to him. I'm gonna give it to him. So he gets a surge. Oh, I can't write that in there. And we probably don't have... We do. There you go, surge. Perfect. Excellent. Everything's working out. All right, he's going to roll a grab on this other thing. So that's just a normal roll. He rolled a 14 on it. Which means that you can grab the target, but if you do, the target can make a melee free strike against you before they are grabbed. Dude, fucking bring it. I don't give a shit. He rolled a 20. Okay. Fine. I'm still not concerned. So I take 5 damage. Down to 24. But he is grabbed, so we'll go to condition marker. Also, I remembered something else. Grappled. The tactician. If a creature marked is reduced to 0, you can use a free triggered action to mark a new target within distance. So he's going to mark this guy. So you got to be paying attention to all this stuff. Okay. I do technically have a move action, so I could move here. Or should I move here? I'll protect the Elementalist and move here. And I can move him with me if I wanted. So I could drag him out. But I think it's... Oh, I think it's like some sort of... There was a... You can use a maneuver to move the grabbed creature into an unoccupied space adjacent to them. But then you can also just move. Yeah, it says grab by another creature and the creature moves. They bring the grabbed creature with them. If creature size is equal to or less than the size of a creature they've grabbed, their speed is halved. Right, so our movement, our speed isn't affected, and we could move, but you apparently, I mean, I don't know exactly how that works then, as far as positioning, because if I move here, I assume he moves here, and then it would be a maneuver for him to move there. If I move here, though, can I move him here or here? You know, like, I don't know, because I moved diagonal left. Does he move diagonal left? I don't know. It's hard to say, but we've got him grabbed, so we're there. We're fine. I'm not going to do anything else. All right. So that's the Fury. And then now the Censor gets to go. So he gets 2 Wrath. And I think we're going to... I don't think you get any benefit for attacking a grab target. It just shuts them down. They take a Bane on any abilities that don't target the creature, object, or effect that has them grab. And obviously they can't move without trying to escape. So grabbing is not like the end-all be-all or anything. I just wanted to try it. But what we're gonna do, I'm actually gonna move here. And now we have him flanked, because we're on direct opposite sides of him, and that means that I will get an edge, a +2 on any of my rolls against him. So that was my move. For my maneuver, we're going to judge him. So I can cause him to take a Bane on any power roll. And I can also... I mean, I can deal 4 holy damage to him anytime he would use a main action. That's the big thing. He's basically fucked at this point. But yeah, so we're going to judge him. I don't know if we have a nice symbol for that. Yeah, I mean, it would have to just be like... Yeah, it's going to depend on your group and sort of what you decide makes the most sense. We'll just use this sanctuary symbol. It's fine. Okay, he's judged and grabbed. And now we're going to roll pain for pain? No. Yeah, pain for pain. It's fine. I mean, honestly, I could just do a melee basic attack, but yeah. So it's just basic pain for pain. And we actually have an edge on this, which is good. Boom, we rolled very poorly, and we got a 10. So even with the edge, +2, we still only got the basic result. So he takes 5 damage. He's down to 5 health. Yes, but since this was now first time around that I deal damage to a creature judged by you, I gain a Wrath. So we will go up 1 there. Okay. And that is the round. It's over. New round. Boom. Okay. So now these guys are going to appear. Do that. Do this. They are now visible. They're involved. And whichever side went first in the combat, they go first every round. You don't re-roll or anything like that. So it's fixed now. So now it's up to the DM here. I have multiple options here of the best way to make this happen. I think we're gonna have maybe the assassins go first. The assassins are gonna try to flank. So this is a different stat block now, of course, different unit. They have the sword stab, which does slightly more damage. And if they have an edge on the ability or a double edge, they get an extra 2 damage. They can also attempt to hide even while observed, which seems kind of wild. Right, so we're going to have the... Oh, so yeah, we get more malice now also. We get another 5. So we're going to actually want to spend it. And we may want to do tiny stabs, except... Probably not. I'm probably going to use goblin mode to get some extra speed here. So we get now 10 malice, but I'm going to spend 3 of it down to 7. Okay, and then the orange, or yeah, the assassins. So they have an 8 speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's gonna be a little tricky actually to get a flank here. Yeah, basically impossible, but that's fine. We're doing the best we can. Okay, so then he's just going to stab. It's a normal thing. This isn't a charge, so if he did a charge, it would be just a basic free strike, which would be 2 damage. Not very good. So he's just rolling his sword stab. Normal +2. He rolled an 8, so 4 damage to our sensor. Yeah, okay, that's that. And then the other one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nice. Diagonals are exactly identical to orthogonals. There's no difference. There's no 1.5 time. No, it's all very simple. Just, it's 1 and 1 and 1. That's it. I think there's some beauty in that, to be honest, as someone that doesn't really care that much. All right, sword stab also rolled very poorly. So another 4 damage to our sensor. Okay. Good. Well, not good, but it's there. All right, so we have an opportunity here now for someone to do something fancy before things get worse. I think that the sensor's in a bit of a pickle. Oh, also, we have to add these as monsters. And these also have 15. It's hard to say. I think probably the sensor should go to heal himself, to be honest, and finish off this goblin next to him. So we're going to have the sensor go. He's going to get 2 wrath. He can't be certain that this thing has 4 or less health left, you know? So he could just not use his main action on it, wait for him to do something, and then just smack him with the holy damage. But there's no guarantee that'll kill him, so he probably just wants to get it done. So we're just going to have... but he does... He could do pain for pain on one of the assassins that just hit him, which is probably smarter. I don't know if it's smarter, but I want to activate it. So the first thing he's going to do is actually use a maneuver to heal. So he uses his recovery value. So he's going to go down on a recovery. Down to 13. And then he's going to go up by his recovery value, which is 10. So he goes up to 27. And that's just a maneuver. It's a minor freaking action. It's crazy. I think these characters are going to be very hard to actually kill, to be honest. But I don't know. This is a very early days. Then for his main action, he's going to hit this assassin on his right. He could swap the judgments because he's not going to move. Oh, but you can't downgrade a move. You can only downgrade an action. Yeah, okay, so he'll keep the judgment where it is. I don't think he's required to hit his judge target. He just gets another wrath if he does, which he kind of wants to. But he will get that wrath when he uses the 4 holy damage on it, assuming that happens. Because the DM might wait to do this to force the Fury to kind of deal with the thing on him. But I don't know. We'll see. I know the music's... I really should just search D&D combat music and we'll put an end to this. Simple. Frickin' simple. Okay. Alright, let's roll pain for pain against this assassin. There's no boons, or there's no edges here or anything, so... you roll a 13. Good. So he deals 7 damage plus 2, 9 damage to this thing, bringing him down to 6. Good, 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 good. Now, we're not really coordinating too well, because I got this guy marked, I got this guy judged, and then I'm hitting this guy. So it's not really super coordinated. It could be better. But, it is what it is. That's probably going to happen a lot, I would imagine, for most groups. Yeah, so that's that. We used the maneuver, we used the action. I could move. Actually, maybe I will. Maybe I'll shift here. Yeah, I probably should, because I had the flank there. There wasn't much reason to do what I did, except for 2 extra damage. But hey, had I rolled really well, I would have killed him. It would have been fun. Alright. So that is the censor's turn done. Next group, I think, is going to be... yeah, the goblins. Spear charge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because they have +2 speed. So he'll swoop right in there. And he'll roll for his shit. He rolled an 11, so only 3 damage done. Okay. And this guy, I guess, will do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same roll. 11, same result. 21. Okay. It's fast when you don't, you're rolling just damage. You don't have to roll a hit. It is pretty fast that way. Especially when it's like digital. Okay, that's it. Actually, technically, they could move out. And it doesn't mention it here, but in the actual monster manual for their stat blocks, like, goblins never take opportunity attacks. I don't know why it's not really mentioned here, because it says that they're going to use hit and run tactics. For the sake of it, for just to speed this along, we'll just leave it normal, but yeah. Okay, so that was red group. Now it's over here. I wish I had a bigger AoE, other than just 2. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to have the Elementalist go. He's going to grab 2 essence for no reason. He's going to use a maneuver here, I think. No, we might want to do the push or the 2 damage. He's fine. He doesn't need to heal. He's fine. So he's just going to use bifurcated incineration. And he's going to target the marked one and the judged one. And the marked one is almost certainly going to get 4 extra damage applied to it. So let's just roll. We do get +2 on the marked one, but not for the other one. The judgment doesn't really help us. Yeah. Okay. So we're just gonna roll. Okay, we got a 14, which would be a 16 on the other one, so it's the same result. And that's gonna be 6 fire damage to both. But our tactician is going to spend an essence, or spend God, what is it called? Tactician's gonna spend focus, and then he gains a focus though because it took damage. So it's neutral. To bump that up to 10 damage, and this thing takes 6 and dies. So it's no longer being grabbed. And then he can use a free action. The sensor can use a free action to judge something else. So we'll throw out the judgment on this thing. Okay. And then he's going to use a maneuver to... what, probably push something? Yeah, use the knockback on, like, this thing into this thing. I think that's a good idea. Let's roll for that. He got a 16 total, which is pretty good. I don't know if these guys had any stability. No, they don't. So it's a push of 2, I believe. Which means that they're both going to 1 damage for each square remaining. Right, so they both take 2 damage. Simple. It's not much. But hey, he would have done 2 damage to one of them. Now he did it to 2 of them. Beautiful. And that's the Elementalist's turn. Next, there's this last guy. I don't think he would fight to the death, to be honest. I think he's probably going to run into the tomb or whatever, where all his allies are. So the Tactician now gets a free strike. Now, don't know if that's melee no matter what. It is melee. That makes sense. Okay. So our Tactician gets to make a melee free strike, which can do quite a lot of damage. And we can spend the focus to do an extra 4. But we don't even need it, because no matter what, he's dead. Like, I can roll Snake Eyes and he's still dead. He takes 6 damage no matter what, and he dies. So we don't even really have to roll, but you wouldn't necessarily tell your players that. We roll a 13, so he takes 9 damage. It's pretty powerful. And he is dead as shit, which allows us to mark another target. So we will. And that was that whole turn. I mean, that's over. So that group's dead. Now the Tactician can actually go and benefit from his mark, because he's going to gain 2 focus. He can't spend it. Not much. Well, he can spend it. We can shred this guy pretty well. I think we might use 2-shot again, though. I don't know. It might be worth going into melee. It's more single target damage, sure. And based on the knowledge I have, with 2-shot, we could never kill this thing. Whereas we could with melee. But I think we want to just get damage out there. So yeah, we'll just roll 2-shot against the marked guy, which we have an edge with, and this damaged goblin here. Yeah, no, fuck it. The other assassin. Yeah. Guaranteed death. Right, so it's the tier 1 no matter what. So it's 4 damage to each. We'll spend the focus to do 8 damage to this guy. And kill this guy. Done. Good. Good. Yeah, okay, we're good. That's the Tactician. I mean, I could move further. I could use a maneuver to do something, I guess. I could hide or something. If you're an adjacent to an enemy, you can use 8 attack and then the next ability power roll an ally makes against them before you start your next turn has an edge. That's pretty nice to do if you're doing nothing else with your maneuver. But we're good. That's done for the tactician. And then the Fury gets to go. He gets to roll 1d3, but I'm kind of in a hurry here, so we'll just add 2. So that bumps him up to 6 ferocity. He gets an edge on might tests and the knockback maneuver. I am not sure if that includes all of his weapon attacks or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if that does. So I guess we'll count it. I think he's going to use Devastating Rush, 1, 2, for 2 squares. And then, yeah, I mean, this thing is guaranteed dead now. 5 damage plus 2 is a kill, but we'll roll. So he technically does have an edge here, right? Because it's a might test. I don't know if that's true or not. But we'll count it. It doesn't matter either way. So he's definitely dead. For at least 7 damage, possibly 10 damage. Okay. And then we're going to use knockback on this guy, because once you have Ferocity 2, you get plus 2 bonus on the forced movement distance. So he's going to slam into this dude. Woo! Rolled a fucking 17. Ouch. Also, we can now, the mark dropped off, so we can immediately apply it to this guy. And then, I don't know if this counts as an ally dealing damage, though. Well, yeah, I mean, what else are we saying? Like, physics hurt him or something? It's obviously the Fury hurting him. Although, it's the first time each combat round, so it's already applied. But, yeah. Okay, so we rolled tier 3, which is push 3 plus 2. So it's a push 5 into this other guy, meaning they both take 5 damage. And I can spend... Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I meant. Oh, but that's an ability to deal rolled damage to a creature marked by you. So I do not think that applies. Okay. So they both take 5. This goes down to 8. This goes down to 10. Good. That's the Fury done. He technically still has a move action, but... well, yeah, technically, I guess he could go here and here to flank for the sensor. Okay, new round. We have a lot of malice now. We have, like, 13. So I guess we may as well use the cloud, the swamp stink for 7 malice. Everything's difficult terrain for non-goblins, and they all have to make a might test. Shit, I don't really want to do this much dice rolling right now. They do have to go. Okay. Everyone's 2 except for the Elementalist. So the Fury, he failed tier 1, so he actually takes 5 poison damage. Ouch. The Censor also failed. So he's at 16. These are also all weakened for the turn. The Tactician also failed. 24. And the Elementalist actually has -1. Definitely failed. He's down to 8. And they're all weakened. Which means that... they take a Bane on all their power rolls. Every 2d10 roll gets a Bane. That's pretty bad. But I think at this point, the goblins are going to go, and they're going to try to flee. Don't know if there's a limit on ops. No, it's a triggered action. It's a melee free, is a free triggered action. Yeah, there's no limit. Okay. Well, so the Fury's gonna, and the Censor are gonna hit both of these. I don't know exactly when the attack happens, if flanking counts, but For speed of play, we'll say flanking counts. So let's just do it on this one first. Both of them get to roll with no edge, no bane. So it's a melee free strike. Between the two of them, I feel like he's just dead. Yeah, he is just dead. No matter what they roll, 4 and 6, he's dead. Okay, and then the other one, there is a bane, but does that matter? No, 4 and 6, he's dead. No, there you go. They both die. It's crazy when you don't have to roll the hit. Okay, done. Combat. We earn a victory. Okay, that was pretty good, I think. We obviously spent some time looking up stuff. I'm gonna have to read more before I actually run it for people. And this was very basic. We didn't have all our abilities, but you can imagine how it would have gone with all our abilities. There would have been more triggered actions, like lines of force. If a target would be forced to move, adjacent to you, you can do some stuff. You can spend ferocity to use burst abilities and AoE and things like that. You can do, it scales pretty nicely with like each encounter learning another thing. Here it adds potency and conditions and stuff. Yeah, fun stuff. I gotta say, I'm really pleased with it so far. I think it's going to keep most people pretty engaged through the whole combat and what everyone's doing. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for cooperative play and teamwork and combos and stuff like that. I think it's really going to be fun on the DM side with malice abilities and different, different abilities for each of the different monsters and different tactics. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. And again, when you're not having to roll to attack, not having to roll to hit, no misses means that everything, like things are always happening constantly, and it goes pretty quick. I'm sure longer fights are going to be longer, especially when you add more and more abilities on, and people are like, oh, let me leaf through my 3 pages of abilities, and oh, maybe this would be a good thing. And then you have 4 or 5 people doing that and all trying to work together to get some big combo. And like, yeah, I mean, that's what took forever in 4th edition, is just people reading through all their abilities over and over. And not thinking about their turns ahead of time. But I think there's even more combo potential with these. So it's like a group activity, which I guess is good theoretically. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays, but I'm very excited. So far, I like pretty much everything I've seen from Draw Steel. So that's my recommendation so far, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I have to cut this a little short. I would do another combat. We'll see. I might do a second part, but if not, I think that's a good enough sort of little tutorial of the combat. But my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging with Draw Steel. I'll see you fine folks around.